I'm Nick Westergaard, and this is On Brand, helping you tell your story. My guest this week is Jay Mandel.
We shouldn't call our audience, our ideal audience, a target market. You know, everyone goes off and says, target. Like, what am I, shooting you? You know, this is a person that is an ideal persona for us to influence and make a part of our tribe. We got to update our language. Like, let's not think so linear in a linear fashion with we're going to take them from tension to interest to desire to action. That's not what happens. Have you ever been on TikTok? I mean, it's like, you know, the way that people learn about products, it's different these days.
Jay Mandel, a multifaceted entrepreneur, professor, consultant, and coach, is not only the author of the book, Brand Strategy in 3 Steps, but also an embodiment of core values such as candor, curiosity, and collaboration. His transformative journey from corporate America to coaching reflects his commitment to infusing meaning and authenticity into the business world. Embrace growth, explore with purpose, and embark on a transformative journey with Jay Mandel. Coming right up. But first,
support for this and all the other podcasts on the Marketing Podcast Network is provided by Momento. Yes, you can use AI to make your job as a marketer easier. Momento is built to put the power of AI in your hands. It can write social media captions, have it watch or listen to a podcast and suggest, then automatically create social media posts to promote the show. Heck, it can even listen to a podcast episode, then write a poem about it you can use on your company blog. Go check it out. MPN listeners can try it for free at bit.ly/MomentoMPN. That's bit.ly/MomentoMPN. Hey there, it's Jason Falls. If your company or maybe one of your clients sells to marketers, you look for advertising channels that guarantee business marketers are paying attention, right? Let me introduce you to the Marketing Podcast Network. You're listening to it right now. It's a network of podcasts all about marketing. So 100% of MPN's audience are marketers. Reach them by advertising on the Marketing Podcast Network. Learn more and find our media kit at marketingpodcasts.net.
Jay Mandel, welcome to On Brand.
Thank you. Well, that was some bio. Did I supply that?
I read what I'm given. You know, I
Wow,
suffer from Ron Burgundy syndrome. You know, you put it on the prompter and I'm going to read it.
Wow. Well, thank you for that introduction. And I love your inflection.
Well, there you go. There you go. A voice and a face for radio. But I love your book title, speaking of the Mutual Admiration Society here. But Brand Strategy in 3 Steps, I'm intrigued, and I'm sure that's the idea, because those first two words, each word on its own, brand and strategy, are incredibly complex and challenging and have different definitions for different people. You've boiled it down to 3 steps. So I want to know more. How's it work?
How does it work? Well, my book is unlike any book that's out there. The way it works is simple. You have to know who you are in order to be an effective marketer. So the 3 steps are identity, intention, and implementation. Those are the 3 steps. But guess what? You got to do that for yourself first in order to be an effective brand ambassador. So when I start the book, in the first chapters, we're talking about you. We're not talking about your brand. We're talking about the values that you hold true. We're talking about a promise that only you could make. That's the intention. The core values are the identity. And then the implementation is you creating a story and delivering it just in the way you do it, Nick. I mean, you know, that's part of it. There's a reason why you're doing this podcast. You probably did a lot of soul searching. It aligns with your skills, your interests, your values. So what I'm saying to people is get that stuff first. And then in chapter 6, I believe I get into a whole assessment of modern day marketing. What's going on? What's not going on? What are the things that marketers could do better? Why do we do what we do? Looking at some of the past people that have inspired marketing. And then I get into, okay, how do you get those core values and deliver a promise as a brand with something that you care about, with something that's not performative. That's the whole thing. And the rest of the book is more of the tactical part of like, oh, okay, we need to do market research. We need to do, some of these things. But I give it a little bit of a spin, or a lot of a spin, because I realized as a professor for 5 years and as a consultant that a lot of the marketing techniques and tools and tactics that we use are outdated and irrelevant and aren't helping marketers to get what they need.
I love that last point too about our tactics are outdated, and it does seem like there's this difference in pace because I feel like our media, our tools have changed so dramatically over the past 20 years. But you hit the nail on the head that how we approach them, there's still this surprisingly this mismatch between fundamentally how we approach these tasks, these tactics, as you said, with the tools, with the modalities of today. So how do we trying to get up to speed, get things better aligned, our tactics with where things are at today?
Oh, that's a good question. And I'll tell you the answer. The answer is that we shouldn't call our audience, our ideal audience, a target market. Like,
Say
everyone
more.
goes off and says target, target, target. Like, what am I shooting you? Like, this is a person that is a persona, an ideal persona for us to influence and make a part of our tribe. Like, I sound like Seth Godin. He inspires me a lot. Most of he's the one that came up with the simple marketing promise, which is my product is for people who believe. I'll focus on people who want, and I promise that engaging with what I make will help you get. Does that feel like a target? No, that feels like a person. That feels like some group of people that is a great partner, a great collaborator. They're not a target. So that's number one. We got to update our language. Like, let's not think so linear in a linear fashion. With we're going to take them from attention to interest to desire to action. That's not what happens. Have you ever been on TikTok? I mean, it's like the way that people learn about products these days are like it's different these days. But I have an even bigger thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately, and that's Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. And these are two people that are very smart. And is it me? I know Travis Kelce's getting all these silly ads from people that are now jumping on the bandwagon. But the idea of the movement, not the campaign, the movement, where Taylor and Travis are in this relationship, and Travis is, playing the games, and he's playing better when Taylor's there, and Taylor is being snuck into the arena, and with her comes a whole different audience for the NFL.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
With it, there's all these people that wouldn't have watched the NFL had it not been for Taylor Swift. Okay. And then there's the opposite side for Travis Kelce. Like, and so what I'm saying to you is, I suspect as a marketer that a bunch of people got into a room and said, who should Taylor date? And I believe that Taylor might even be a part of this conspiracy. Maybe she's in love. Who knows? I mean, I listen to her songs because my daughter listens to her songs. But what I'm saying to you is that works better than let's create a content marketing plan and do 6 blog posts and we'll have AI write them. And I got an ad this morning for an AI solution that said, all you need to do is take someone else's video and we'll create an article for you. It's like, really? That's my answer? Like, that's not the answer. You need to think bigger, think in a way that's not about these outputs, like these silly things like, oh, if I do SEO, if I do the right AI, if I do the right amount of emails, I'm going to attract an audience. No, you need to connect with them in a meaningful way on their terms.
This is why I'm so fascinated and so glad that you brought up the we'll go by to try to get some young people cred and go with the ship name of Swelsey.
Yeah,
But
there we
why we
go.
why we can't stop looking at it, and it's this story that's unfolding in front of us, but ultimately you've got some big brand implications there as well. But I love that all of this, like you said, nobody's not thinking about targets and things like that. So I love the focus on the language because I very consciously position myself in the linguistics of brand, of stories. And what you're talking about, really, as we look at changing, as we look at the shifts, as we look at our tactics not keeping up, it really makes me wonder about the language of marketing. Like you said, that many of us, were brought up with and continue to kind of bang the drum for. But like you said, the whole attention, interest, desire, action, targeting, all of these things, it's really maybe, like you said, a different animal that is not tracking with today's TikTok, Taylor, Travis. That's all the T's that I have,
Well,
but of what's
yeah.
going on today.
Well, it's the other T is timing, and
Ah.
so the reality is this. Like I'm going to just tell you, I have two children. I have a 12-year-old and I have a 9-year-old, and both of them are on TikTok. They're supervised by me. So if anyone talks to my 9-year-old, I will see that before my 9-year-old, does it. But what is really remarkable is a Friday night sitting and watching my kids create the soundtrack, the story of their life. And it's sort of surreal. I bought them a ring cam, and I'm just sitting on the couch on a Friday night watching my daughter and her friends create. My daughter's doing these transition videos where she starts off wearing one thing, and then whatever she does with her TikTok, makes it look like she went from one outfit to the other. And it's really
Oh.
remarkable and really amazing. And what I'm basically saying to you is that whereas Instagram is the photograph of our life, I see TikTok as a sitcom. We had this, my girlfriend watches Seinfeld. Okay. She's from Barbados. She hadn't seen Seinfeld, so she's watching it on Netflix. And I find it to be incredibly interesting to see her watch it and to be reminded of all these moments that we waited for on Thursday nights for years of our lives. Right. Or even whatever it might be, 90210, whatever the shows were that we watched, as kids. The fact that we even went and we watched TV is something that's odd these days. But now I am watching sitcoms of dozens of people, and they're just regular people, just like you and me. And it's unfolding on TikTok. So when you're a brand and you're scheduling your posts, 30 days in advance, and some junior person at some crappy agency is saying, "Oh, well, what should we say next?" Well, it's National Strawberry Day today, so let's highlight that. And tomorrow's National Blueberry Day, and it's Black Friday, and it's Small Business Saturday, and it's like everyone is saying that, So if you're a brand, and I'm talking about the legacy brands here, I'm not talking about some of these new and modern brands that are doing it right. But if you're a legacy brand and you're just relying on that same playbook, good luck to you. Like, it's not going to work out very well.
On Brand, we'll be right back after this.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? T. Adeola hosts a great podcast called Tiny Giants. T, tell us what these fine folks will get out of listening.
We are the creator economy show that's about careers, not celebrity. right? So who should listen to this show are the parents of young people who want to know more about the creator economy and why that's a career path for their children, or the young people themselves.
Amazing. Where can the young people or the parents subscribe?
You can find us at tinygiants.tech or wherever you get these podcasts, these fine podcasts. And you can also find us at the Marketing Podcast Network, which is marketingpodcast.net.
You heard him. Go subscribe. You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Colin Jeffries and Eric Reed host a great podcast called the Rethink Marketing Podcast. Colin, tell us what these fine folks will get out of listening.
Well, Jason, on the Rethink Marketing Podcast, we unpack the myths, misconceptions, and flat-out lies of marketing and sales. Our listeners tell us that we help bring different perspectives to common business growth, wisdom, and advice.
That's great. Where can people subscribe?
They can subscribe at rethinkmarketingpodcast.com or listen on their favorite podcast platform, including marketingpodcasts.net.
You heard him. Go subscribe.
Now, back to the show. So you mentioned timing, and first of all, I have to rewind and hats off for I thought I had all of the T's with TikTok, Travis, and Taylor, and everything else. But timing is critical, and as we talk about timing, as this episode is coming out, we are winding down 1 year. And, obviously there's holiday strategies going on, but a lot of us are looking ahead to a new year on the horizon. And we're thinking more with greater, I'll use one of your eyes, intent on our strategy in the year ahead. So in looking at that, as you have your 3 steps, how does that line up with thinking about our work in the new year ahead?
Well, I think that people are fed up with performative bullshit, pardon my French. And I think the more and more we see these systems that, are sort of have stifled us for years, the more and more the brands are starting to connect. And, I think that we're in a very tumultuous political time. There's a lot of uncertainty about, politics, about money, about all these things. And I think that as we go into the new year, I think that people are extremely stressed out. And my only hope for the new year is that there's this ability to just breathe and feel like, we can look at something new and something different that we set goals for. Like, so my basically what I'm saying is that why don't we look at the new year as a new opportunity? And if you haven't set your goals for 2024, then do it. You should be setting objectives, key results, and they should be tangible and practical and measurable. And so, like, that's what I'm thinking for the new year. It's like, I don't know what's going to change about the political and economic environment that we're in, but the only thing that you are in control of is you. And so, if you have the right mindset and the right approach for this modern time, and you're connected with all these realities, you're listening to the news, you understand it, and you adapt yourself. You don't just do the same stuff. You see January 1st as an opportunity to press reset. Then I think you're better off than a lot of people.
That's such a good point. And when you talk about taking that moment to breathe, and I think that for many, that could sound like a big ask. And remembering the importance of taking a moment between, like you said, National Strawberry Day, National Blueberry Day, all these times when we think that we have to be making noise, that it is a good opportunity for a stop, for a reset. And as folks are thinking about that kind of reset, are there questions that are good for kind of triggering some of those strategic insights?
Yeah, I mean basically, I didn't realize this is what was leading to, but the questions are, what are your values? And I have a lot of prompting questions that could help anyone to establish their core values. What matters to you? What is something that you can eliminate from your life and still have a high quality life? What are the experiences that you could have rather than the things that you can accumulate? So I'm basically saying that the questions you should ask yourself are, do I feel like I have a map that will allow me to measure where I am and where I'm going? Like, that's what the core values are. When I have my 3 C's, candor, curiosity, and collaboration, you hear me, the way I talk, what I say, how I say it. That's candor. Challenging people, but when I challenge people, not challenging them in a way that's like, oh, you did it wrong, but in a way that is well intentioned. Curiosity. I'm curious, and I want to know more about you, Nick. I want to know more about the people I work with on a daily basis, and I want to collaborate. And basically, what I'm saying is that those 3 values are easy to recall because they're what I do on a daily basis. And I think that basically, if you don't have anything like that, even if you say I have values, but you can't recite them, then you don't have values. I mean, or you have values, you just need to act like a marketer and make them into something that is memorable for yourself and memorable for others.
That's such a great example, and you complimented my bio read, but it is a great bio, and I love that you not only have those values, but a lot of times and it's interesting that you made the comparison of, treating yourself personally like you would a business or a brand. And it's interesting because they can have some of uh, the same traps that we can fall into. We come up with values, but I don't know, they're in some document somewhere. I don't
Yeah,
remember.
exactly.
But you have them and you're using them as you talked about, but even something as simple as it was in the first sentence of your bio that I read. And I think that is a powerful way of approaching them, of thinking about them. And the other thing to point out to folks, and there's all kinds of exercises for coming up with these. And I feel like I read a process. Oh, I think it might be in Brené Brown's Dare to Lead, where there's a great big bank of words that you can choose
Yeah,
from and progressively narrow them down. But the other great thing about your list is that you've aligned them with C's. So you've got some alliteration working for
yeah,
you there, which beyond just being something interesting, I always remind people that there's some neuroscience behind why that works. It's easy to remember. And if it's easy for you to remember, it's easy for other people to remember. And if it's easy for you to remember, it's going to be something that you can use as you've done right here.
that's correct. That's exactly right. And when I review core values with people, I ask them to be deeply personal. Like, don't create a slide on Canva that just uses someone else's template. Like, where are the pictures of you? Where are the pictures of the people in your life that led you to believe what you believe? How are you really embracing this exercise, making it personal? When people do core values, they don't have to create a PowerPoint. They can create a mandala. They can create a poster. They can create a mosaic. It's whatever they want to do in order to express them. But the other thing that I ask them every time is, are these words in the right order? Can you
Ah,
arrange these words where certain words are foundational and certain words are the cherry on top? Is there a sequence? This plus this equals this. That's what I did with a recent client. It was like, is it me or does this all add up to respect? So the reality is that based on where you net out with your values, you can use the same type of storytelling techniques that Taylor Swift uses to unfold that story by just doing some basic paring down or organizing of the words in order to make them memorable.
All right, folks, you heard it here. Jay just told you how your brand can be like Taylor Swift. So
Yeah, there
I
we go.
think
It's me.
I think we almost have to leave it there. That makes me smile. And because it's made me smile, it's a great reminder, Jay, to ask you for a brand that has made you smile recently.
Dr. Squatch.
Ah,
Okay, now, I mean, I go back and forth with Dr. Squatch. Unfortunately, their deodorant doesn't work. I mean, that's a problem. It's like, I was willing to try natural deodorant, and it's like, okay, well, I need to go back to degree if whatever. So TMI. But Dr. Squatch did something really amazing over the holidays that captured my attention. What they did was they started making incredibly raunchy and inappropriate text messages that were like, "Did you black out and miss Black Friday?" They were doing some stuff with "ho ho ho," and it was like really like edgy stuff. And I'm looking at all these mundane text messages. Like, my son likes this guy named Nick. He's a chef, and he was on Top Chef, and he's associated with Osmo Salt, and I keep on getting alerts from Osmo Salt reminding me that I should be buying salt 3 times a week. Like, do I really need salt? Okay,
right. Yeah.
I don't need a reminder of that. What Dr. Squatch did was they realized that people are fed up with these stupid text messages, and they sent these, questionable text messages. And I started to see a pattern. It's like, wow, there were, and you could look on my Instagram or my TikTok, and I actually illustrated these examples of how they did it, and I put pictures to them. Like, I thought it was quite amusing. But the best part about it is that one day later, some guy named Chad sent a message and said, "This is Chad. You could reach out to me," and blah blah blah. And over the last few days, I've been having a conversation with Chad, and I don't even know who Chad is, but I do know this: that when I wrote Dr. Squatch, it wasn't some formulaic, let's send it overseas and have some person that can't communicate effectively or reads a script. No, it's Chad. And I've been talking to Chad, and I told Chad I'm a professor. And like, wow, that's a little bit of humanity in a brand that's set up in order to meet the needs of the customers. So if only they could make their deodorant work, then I'll really smile.
Well, that is a great example, and I love it and reinforces a lot of what we've been talking about here today. Jay, where can folks go to learn more about who you are and what you do?
You could go to jaymandel.com, or you could just type in Jay Mandel at LinkedIn and send me a LinkedIn invite. Tell me, if you heard of me through this podcast. Make an introduction that will make an impression. That's the thing, that's what I advise people. Like, really reach out, because anyone who reaches out to me, I will have a conversation with you. I will help you. I will do whatever it takes. But that can happen if you don't reach out. And it won't happen if you reach out in a way that is performative and, is just like, the algorithm suggested that we connect. It's like, okay, I don't really need to connect with you. But if you tell me you heard my thought on Taylor Swift and you'd like to discuss it, more power to you. And that's advice I give to all my clients.
All righty. Well, you heard it there. We'll link up to all of that in our show notes. Go find Jay, connect with him. Jay Mandel, thank you for being on brand with us.
Thank you for having me.
On Brand is part of the Marketing Podcast Network. If you like what you're hearing, if we've made you smile, you can always listen free on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever your favorite platform may be. And please take a moment and rate and review the podcast to help others find the show. Until next week, I'm Nick Westergaard, and I'll see you on the internet.
This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.